Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
They're here.
Come to Freddy. I'm not gonna hurt you. You didn't let me finish my sentence. I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in.
Nobody trusts anybody now. We're all very tired.
We'll tear your soul apart. You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week. 30 years in the making.
Hey, Bo.
Hey, John, how are you?
It's the Great Pumpkinhead, Charlie Brown.
Oh, I love that show.
That would be a great mashup.
Oh, God.
Can we do that? Has someone done that? I'm now really curious.
Maybe Lucy throws the football at the Pumpkinhead? I'm not sure.
Maybe Charlie Brown misses the kick, kills one of the other kids, and Lucy brings out Pumpkinhead.
Yes, to kill Charlie Brown.
Oh.
That's good.
Yeah. And the old woman, Haggis, I think was her name. Great name, by the way.
Yes.
A mixture of hag and Scottish stuff that
And
looks and tastes
sheep,
like
yes.
a hag. I want to see that cartoon now.
Yeah.
Somebody make it.
I'm in.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So, somebody, if you're listening and you're an animator and you're just sitting around bored, you're looking for something to do, we would love to see a mashup of Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin and Pumpkinhead. Do it. Make it happen. If you do, let us know. We will buy you a pumpkin spice latte.
There you
go. Yeah. I don't like pumpkin spice lattes.
Oh,
I don't even like coffee, but...
They're quite good.
Okay. All right. Well, it 'tis the season for the pumpkin spice.
Oh, yeah.
So, 'tis the season for the pumpkin spice, but this time we're talking about a spicy pumpkin. Did you see what I said there? Spicy. It's a spicy pumpkin.
I was trying to pretend you didn't
It's
say
spicy.
it. Here we are.
I could have gone saucy, but that didn't fit with
did
pumpkin spice.
not.
It's not pumpkin sauce. Pumpkinhead, folks. Pumpkinhead.
What a goofy movie.
It's a bit weird.
A bit.
Just
yeah.
a bit. So very, very quickly, we do spoil the stuff that we talk about. We're going to be talking about Pumpkinhead. We might talk about some other movies here and there, so just be aware. We spoil stuff. And then if you have not left us a review on iTunes, if you're listening and you'd like to leave us a review on iTunes just as a way of saying, here's what we're enjoying, please feel free to go ahead and do that, or any place that you get your podcasts, because we are all over the place. We're even on Spotify now, so rocking the Spotify.
Aren't we fancy?
We are fancy. We're not spicy, but we're
No.
fancy. Visit our website if you want to learn more about our show and listen to some of the other episodes. We are at 30podcast.com. I am joined by one of my co-hosts, Bo.
Yo.
How you doing, Bo?
I'm well. Yourself?
I'm doing all right. We're talking about scary movies this month, which are not necessarily your forte.
No.
They're not Pat's either. Pat's, I know, and that's not why he's not here, but he's maybe. Maybe he's just like, no, I can't, I'm not man enough to take on these movies. So I'm just going to step back and let you guys do the talking and
he's one of the few that actually goes back and listens to this stuff. He's going to hate on us for that.
Hi, Pat. Love you.
How you doing?
So this is our horror movies month, and we are taking a look at Pumpkinhead this time around. We're just going to jump right on into the movie. I don't think I have any new movie news at this point, so if something brand new comes out and we totally missed it, then we'll throw it on Twitter. Whoops. Really, really quick, there was a new thing that we started doing last episode, and we're going to continue doing it, and that is This Week in 88, or whatever year we're doing at the time, but we're in 88, so there we go. This Week in 88, there's not much going on, but I do have the 9th Rugby League World Cup took place on October 9th, and Australia defeated New Zealand 25-12. And then the only other stuff I got here is that Pumpkinhead was actually released in theaters on October 14th. We also had a couple other movies that were released at the same time, The Accused and Night of the Demons. So that's really all I've got for This Week in 88. So let's just go ahead. We'll jump on into Pumpkinhead and go from there. Title of this one, obviously, is Pumpkinhead. Release date, it had limited U.S. release in October of 1988. Rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 26 minutes. Directed by Stan Winston. who his directorial work is the Guns N' Roses music video "You Could Be Mine" and A Gnome Named Norm. But he is well known for his countless special effects credits. Stan Winston's movie monsters. He did Terminator, Aliens, Jurassic Park stuff. I mean, that's what he's most well known for, is his movie monsters. Producers on this one, Bill Blake, Howard Smith, and Richard Weinman. They all worked together on a movie called The Hunter's Moon. Writers for this one, there were a gaggle of writers. Mark Patrick Carducci, Stan Winston, Richard Weinman did the story. Mark Patrick Carducci and Gary Girani did the screenplay. And Ed Justin did the poem. I did not know that this movie is based off a poem.
Yeah, I saw it in the credits and meant to go look up the poem.
And I was like, that's really interesting. So I looked up the poem. I'm going to read the poem for you before I comment on the poem.
Oh, a dramatic reading.
A dramatic reading. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Keep away from Pumpkinhead, unless you're tired of living. His enemies are mostly dead. He's mean and unforgiving. Laugh at him and you're undone, but in some dreadful fashion. Vengeance he considers fun, and plans it with a passion. Time will not erase or blot a plot that he has brewing. It's when you think that he's forgot, he'll conjure your undoing. Bolted doors and windows barred, guard dogs prowling in the yard, won't protect you in your bed. Nothing will from Pumpkinhead.
That inspired a man to make a movie.
Apparently. My dramatic reading of it, I think, was so much better than when I read it in my head. Because I read it in my head and I'm like, no offense to, what was the guy's name? Ed Justin? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ed Justin.
He's got two first names. He's already got a strike against him. So,
no offense to him. It's not a great poem. I mean, it kind of sounds like it's written by a either junior high or high school kid. I don't say that to disparage the man and his work, but I'm just like, it's not, I don't know. I've read better, I guess we'll say. There's nothing overly complicated about it. I guess it doesn't need to be. I guess I'm sitting here kind of comparing it to, well, you read the story of Ichabod Crane or read the story of Edgar Allan Poe, and when I think of like scary poetry,
sure,
this doesn't, as Pat is fond of saying, didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
So
it definitely, I sort of thought it would be longer, inspire more than it did. It was, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's kind of a little more Edgar Allan Poe-ish.
You're gonna go be inspired by this to make a movie about Pumpkinhead, but then, I'm sorry, his head wasn't very pumpkin-y.
No, not really.
Yeah.
A little bit, but. So anyway, that's the poem that inspired the movie. Cinematography was done by Bojan Bazelli, and I'm probably saying that wrong. Maybe it's Bojan Bazelli. He did Tapeheads and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Music was done by Richard Stone, who died in 2001, who did music for Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain. I love Pinky and the Brain. Yes. Are you pondering what I'm pondering, Bo?
I don't know. What are you pondering, Brian?
I don't know. Where are we going to get rubber pants at this time of night? Budget for this one, no idea. And the box office was $4.4 million. Flick Metrics gives it a 59. That is an averaging of the Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 65, audience score of 47, IMDb score of 62, Letterboxd score of 62. Starring Lance Henriksen, who played Ed Harley. He was in Terminator and Aliens. Jeff East played Chris. He was in Superman and Tom Sawyer Huck Finn. Those are two different movies, Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn. He played Huckleberry Finn in those. John D'Aquino was Joel. He was in No Way Out and an episode of Quantum Leap. Kimberly Ross, who died in 2006, played Kim. Well, that was a tough stretch for her, Kimberly playing a Kim. Mm-hmm. She was in Dallas, the TV show, and she was cheerleader number 3, I think, in The Last Starfighter. Joel Hoffman played Steve. He was in Slumber Party Massacre 2. I always love the titles of those movies. Just like, let's Slumber Party Massacre 2. I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure.
And a movie called Not of This Earth. Cynthia Bain played Tracy. She was in Knots Landing and Spontaneous Combustion. Carrie Remsen played Maggie. She was in Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and White Man's Burden. And Florence Schaffler, who died in 2017, played Haggis. She was in Bachelor Party and Problem Child.
afraid raising the dead ain't within my power.
Will it be all right? Should I be afraid?
It's coming!
Looking for an old woman. She lives somewhere in the mountains hereabouts.
All she can do is take you straight to hell. You go home and you bury your boy.
Some folks would say as how she's got powers.
Who are you?
Ed Harley.
What do you want, Ed Harley? Say it. You're looking for vengeance. Vengeance. Say it. There's an old graveyard way back deep in them woods. The thing you're looking for is in there.
It was an accident.
It's gotta run its course. Now it begins. It begins.
All right, so jumping on into Pumpkinhead here. Was this the first time you had seen this movie?
Yes.
Okay. Was also the first for me.
Okay.
So this is one I had not seen before.
I hadn't even heard of this one before.
You know what? I had heard of it before, but that's because I was the kid who would go into the Blockbuster Video, and I would go to the horror section, and I'd be like, these are all the movies that I would like to watch if my parents would let me watch them. And then I would purposefully stay up late at night, and when everybody else was asleep, I'd sneak in and put whatever was on the TV. I'd be like, I think we might have had HBO for a while.
Sure.
So late night, I'd put on the TV, and some of these movies would be on the TV, or somehow some TV station was showing one of these. And I think that's how I caught many of these movies that I was never supposed to watch, is that I would sneak in the living room and watch TV when everybody else was asleep.
You sneaky devil.
Yeah,
you.
I know. Would you call me spicy?
I said sneaky. I think you're good.
Okay, all right, okay. I'm going to tone it down a little bit. Spicy. Spicy Pumpkinhead.
Salty.
A salty Pumpkinhead. And I had not seen this movie, but I knew of it because I was the kid that would walk through the horror section at Blockbuster Video and just be like, look at those movies. Like, I'd see the covers for, like, the Creep Show.
Those of you millennials that might listen to this, we used to have to go somewhere.
There was a place. A magical place.
For movies.
Mm-hmm. Magical place. And you had, like, your little, like, hometown video store, but then those went the way of the dinosaur and were eaten up by Blockbuster Video. And most of the Blockbuster Videos that I remember growing up were geniuses because they were right next to a Little Caesars Pizza. Because that's how you do it.
Yes.
You go order a pizza, then you go next door to get your movie.
One-stop shopping.
So, but I just remember walking through those sections and my mom being like, "You're not supposed to be over there. Don't look at those videos." And that's exactly what she sounded like too.
Wow.
Exact same voice.
To this podcast?
No, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom. And I would love to go look at the covers of the movies, and I was like, I don't know that I will ever watch these because they will scare me to death. And one that I always remember seeing was the cover of Pumpkinhead, and I was like, that's super creepy. I want to watch that movie.
Did that cover have a pumpkin on it?
No, I just had a picture of actual Pumpkinhead, like full body.
Oh, okay.
Pumpkinhead,
because
the creature.
Clicking around and doing a little bit of research, I found a movie cover. It looks like a DVD cover, so it obviously wasn't the original. That it's touting the Stan Winston connection, but has a gigantic pumpkin on it. And all I could think was, nowhere is there a gigantic pumpkin.
No. That's
misleading
that's the
cover.
British DVD cover. I can tell because of the 18
region
rating.
2.
Yeah, the
Well
18
done.
rating. Yeah. No, that's
Interesting.
Yeah. No, the one I remember is
It's probably
I'm using my computer to record, so I'm not going to turn it around to show
probably
you.
this
but,
one.
No.
Oh.
No. Close. It was actually
I like the German one.
I'll take a picture of my screen because I'm not going to turn my computer around.
The German one has his hands holding a pumpkin, which is kind of fun.
That one's good. It was actually this one.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's the VHS cover. Yeah. So, I mean, I remember always seeing this and thinking like, oh, that's super creepy. It kind of looks like an alien.
BTW,
from Aliens.
They made a Blu-ray transfer.
Oh, nice.
Surprised me a little.
Okay.
If I'm being honest.
Well, what surprised me is apparently there's more than one Pumpkinhead movie.
Ooh?
There's many.
Oh.
There were at least 4.
I was unaware of this. Obviously, my very little research was very little.
So there is, from what I can tell, there's Pumpkinhead. There's Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings, which I do not recommend at Buffalo Wild Wings. They are not the best. They're dare I say they're a little spicy.
Yes, that one.
Spicy Pumpkinhead. That's the second movie. Blood Wings. Spicy Blood Wings. That's what it is.
You worked so hard for that
did.
one.
I didn't even plan that.
I'm kind of proud of you, John.
I didn't even plan everything. I don't
worked
plan any of this.
very hard for
it's
that job.
all off the cuff.
Very
I did,
hard.
but once I had it, I figured, let's just keep going with it, and eventually it'll come back somewhere.
And it did.
And apparently Blood Wings. They're spicy Blood Wings.
Apparently Blood Wings.
Pumpkinhead 3, Ashes to Ashes, and Pumpkinhead 4, Blood Feud.
More blood.
Which is where you fight over the spicy Blood Wings, because there's only one left.
Right.
Yeah, that's what that movie's about. I have not seen, well, I hadn't seen this one. Haven't seen any of the other Pumpkinhead movies. Clearly, it was 6 years before they made Pumpkinhead 2, after making the first Pumpkinhead. I'm just going to say it. I don't think I like this movie.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It was slow moving. It was... Yeah.
As a kid, when I always would see that VHS tape, when I'd see that cover, I thought, oh, that movie must be so scary. Oh, I would love to go watch that movie. I bet it's like a lot like Alien. I bet it's like, it looks like Alien. So it's just going to be amazing. Never saw it as a kid. I think had I seen it as a kid, I would have thought, this is great. It's scary. But as an adult watching this movie, I'm like, I don't know.
Not very scary.
No.
Not, didn't keep my interest.
No.
It was...
The concept I was on board with.
Right.
The idea of a revenge demon.
Yeah.
To avenge his son.
Yeah.
You know, you've got again, very much like an 80s movie, you've got the college kids that are going to go out and do something crazy because you can't trust kids. We learned that from the Blob.
Well, yeah.
You can't trust kids, and so they go out and they're going to do crazy stuff.
I've been drinking. They're gonna... what was his phrase? Bummer.
Yeah.
I had it and I lost it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm all on board with that.
Right.
Like that part, I'm cool. All right, revenge demon, revenge away. Okay, that's awesome. You know, that's like those traditional stories of the, you know, and not quite the same, but like the traditional stories of the golem.
Yes.
Like bringing the golem to life.
It's very classic.
So there's a classic piece to it. There's a classic mythology to the idea that you have, and you know, being from the South myself, I'm like, okay. It almost has a bit of a southern flavor to it. You're out in the country. You've got this kind of old mountain woman who's there, and she's the one that knows all about bringing the Pumpkinhead to life. He's called Pumpkinhead because he comes from the pumpkin patch and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, I get all that. I just feel like it could have been better executed. And that maybe executed is the wrong word with a horror movie where everybody dies.
Or maybe the perfect word.
It could be the perfect word. So yeah, I just don't know. This movie did not hit the targets for me. You know, looking back, it wasn't scary. It wasn't like you said. It was kind of predictable. Like you said, it didn't keep my attention. You know, I guess the interesting twist was finding out that in order to kill the Pumpkinhead, you had to kill the person who brought the Pumpkinhead to life.
Right.
And then knowing that he was going to have to kill himself or somebody was going to have to kill him to get rid of the Pumpkinhead.
Right.
With then the twist at the end that he was kind of buried to eventually come back as the next Pumpkinhead kind of deal. Some of that was interesting. I just kind of felt like... I mean, there was a lot of overacting in this movie, or underacting, depending. It just was a little bit too cheesy in some parts. I think of like the old woman, the haggis woman. I was like, all right, can we make this any more like... I don't think this is supposed to have like an Evil Dead 2 vibe. But when she's in all the scenes where she's talking and describing what the Pumpkinhead is, and all that stuff, I'm like, I don't think this is supposed to be a funny movie.
Right.
But the way you're acting this is like over the top and kind of ridiculous. So, yeah. So that was special. So yeah, this movie just didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah.
I was about halfway through it, and I realized that it wasn't doing it for me, and I was like, okay, am I just not in the headspace for this type of movie?
No.
Because being a horror movie, sometimes you gotta want to be scared.
Yeah.
Right? So I actually stopped, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to come back and finish this. Maybe I'll be better prepared. And even then,
Not so much.
No.
You know what? I'm gonna bring in.
I wanted a little more story at the beginning. What happened? Like, they didn't tell you that much about what was going on.
Right.
They were just sort of showing the revenge demon, and then they were going to put him away for a couple of years.
Right.
Maybe that would have helped. I don't know.
And you get the idea that, like, at the very beginning of the movie, it's Ed as a kid,
right?
You know, witnessing that's happening. That this demon is coming after somebody,
right?
And I think, to your point, I would have liked to have seen more of like the folklore, of this Pumpkinhead character, like
or maybe
what's the history of it?
Maybe there was an older brother telling him the story of Pumpkinhead,
right?
Instead of us learning from the hillbilly children, which sort of didn't go well.
Otherwise, it's no different from any other slasher monster movie. It just there's nothing that distinguishes it from the pack.
Yeah, I felt like they went to such great lengths to come back to that poem, and they could have just called it Scary Demon Revenge Monster Guy.
Right.
You know, and it would have been the same.
Wouldn't have been as spicy.
Or salty.
That's true. Spicy's better.
That's true.
Spicy's better.
Keep telling yourself that.
I will. I will keep telling myself that, and then I will edit out all the times that you say otherwise.
That's true. You do have that power.
I have the power to edit everything you say out.
He has the power.
Welcome to the 30 Podcast. It's just John here tonight.
Yeah, the other guy in the room just edited. For all I know, he's somehow turned the microphone off, so this side doesn't work, and I'm just talking to myself. Good move.
Basically, I've erased your face, just like in the Twilight Zone movie.
What face?
Yeah, well, see, face off. It's gonna be a few years till we get to that movie.
We are ill.
we have problems. Somebody posted on Twitter the other day. They're like, I was trying to convince my boyfriend to watch Face Off with me, and I told him it's a movie about a guy who takes off his face and switches it with another guy who takes off his face, and she like has this whole long description of like describing the movie Face Off.
And at some point, you realized how completely ridiculous it was.
Well, and I responded to her, and I was like, you know what, you would have had me at this guy takes his face off.
True.
Like at that point, I don't need to hear anymore. I'm just like, really? There's a movie where a guy takes his face off. When and how many times can we watch it?
Dude.
I'm in. So yeah, and you know what? I actually I'll bring this up too because I don't normally watch horror movies anymore. I get my imagination runs rampant, and I don't know that I can watch them without terrifying myself.
Really?
Used to be able to. Loved watching them as a kid, and for some reason, ever since I've had kids, something has changed.
Darn
and
kids.
I know they ruin everything.
Every freaking time.
So this weekend, a couple weekends ago, I rented a couple of different movies, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch them. My wife was out of town, so it's like I have plenty of time at night to just watch a whole bunch of movies that she wouldn't normally watch with me necessarily. So I was like, you know what, I have been hearing that the scariest movie of 2018 came out it would have come out this year, otherwise it wouldn't be the scariest movie of 2018. Hereditary.
Oh. Yes.
So I watched it. Not scary.
Didn't do it for you.
No. And I'm sitting there expecting, I'm like, I'm going to be terrified. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I'm ready for it. I'm psyching myself out. It's not going to, maybe I'll just stay up all night because it's not going to happen. Not scared. Not scared at all. In fact, I'm watching that movie and I'm like, you know what? They already had this movie. It was already done so much better.
That's never good.
With a little girl named Reagan. And it was called The Exorcist. and that was like 30 plus 40 years ago.
You know, a lot
so
of
maybe
people,
I should just go back and watch that movie.
Right, a lot of people think it's scarier when you involve kids.
Mm-hmm. And there was a child involved in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, no.
Nope.
Although I will say, one of the things that one of the child, so spoilers, I guess, a little bit for Hereditary, if you haven't seen it, the little girl child that's in this movie, she is, you get the sense that she may have some kind of disability. And she is constantly making a clicking noise with her tongue, like that. And later in the movie, that noise comes back in some very creepy ways. Mm-hmm. And that was about the only part that was kind of scary for me, was that there are times where that noise shouldn't be happening, and in the movie, all of a sudden, it happens, and it is very creepy.
Okay.
I found myself later that weekend, I was like looking for something. It was late at night, and I was looking for something. I'm like, where did I put that? Where did I... I'm like, don't. I like scared myself because I made the same noise. I was like, stop that.
Now that's fun.
You're an idiot. And nobody else was around. So
yes.
I'm sharing that with our worldwide audience that I'm an idiot.
You're not wrong.
No. I'm spicy, but not wrong.
Salty.
Spicy. Editing you out completely.
Not the first time, I'm sure.
Erasing you from existence.
Like Back to the Future.
Like a Back to the Future photo. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's happening.
The sad thing is we were both referencing...
We were thinking the exact same thing at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Yep. Apologies to our wives.
Yes. 1,000 apologies.
They are saints. So yeah.
So
I think that's underwhelmed. So that child that just was enamored of the VHS cover of this movie from the 80s and 90s at Blockbuster Video is now like, it was,
Yeah.
I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about this movie over the last 30 years, but I'm like, I would have wasted 30 years had I spent more time, but,
You found other ways to waste 30
When we were looking at the
fine.
movies for this year, and I saw that one on the list, I'm like, oh, that's the one I always wanted to watch.
It.
And Lance Henriksen, maybe not the greatest actor in the world, but he's in a bunch of movies I love. The Terminator, the Aliens, all those movies. That just did not, my 30-year-old expectations did not get met. So
I'm sorry, but
that's all right. It's not your fault. You didn't make the movie.
You're right. Mm-hmm. It is not my fault.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so out of 5 pumpkins, what would you give this movie?
2.
A 2?
Yeah, it very rarely does a movie totally not hold my attention.
Mm-hmm.
This did not.
Yeah. I also gave it a 2 for those same reasons. It didn't hold my attention. I didn't feel like it was scary. I needed more to distinguish this movie from other monster slasher kind of movies. I needed something more.
So let me ask this. What is keeping both of us, because we both just did it, from giving it a 1?
I think the uniqueness of the idea of the revenge demon. Like, to me, that's unique.
Works for me. Because I can't necessarily tell you right now why.
Yeah.
I just don't think it deserves a 1. I think
I would give it. I would give a 1. I would give a 1 to a movie that I got like halfway through, and I'm like, no, forget it. I'm turning this off.
Because 0 is not really an option, right?
I don't think. Well, unless it's The Room, I'm not going to give it as. Well, no, that's not true. I'd give The Room something higher than that.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys made me watch it.
I was thinking like Newport South.
You guys all suck. You made me watch it.
Yeah, well.
Shouldn't have said that. That's not very nice.
It's not, but it might be true.
Yeah, it is true.
Still funny nonetheless.
The smacking sounds. It was the smacking sounds. But that we're talking Pumpkinhead here, so there were, as far as I know, there were no smacking sounds. Well, there might have been some smacking sounds in Pumpkinhead.
It's best that we don't even
different smacking
think
sounds,
about
though, not
that.
the same as The Room. Yeah. So no, just not enough to distinguish it as its own entity.
Sure.
It doesn't. It doesn't stand out from the crowd when you have a decade that has a Freddy, a Jason, a Michael Myers, Poltergeist, like all that stuff. When you've got all those things, to try to stand out from that, this one doesn't do it.
It's hard.
So that's why I give it a 2 for effort. It's got a good actor in it. It's got Lance Henriksen. I like him in some of the other stuff he's been in. It has potential. It just doesn't follow through for me with any of that potential. I don't know that I will. I'd be curious to see if any of the other movies delve deeper into the stuff that I wanted to see in this movie. The folklore of it, where does this thing come from? So it's a demon, but how did it end up in this pumpkin patch?
Is it somebody who died as part of committing revenge? Is that how this body got... Okay, so let me ask...
Is it like a golem kind of figure where somebody created this and
okay, so...
called down a demon to be this revenge thing?
Crazy theory, or not crazy theory, this is one of those, the movie didn't keep my attention enough for me to go back and look.
So now I'm coming up with my own movie.
So now I'm coming up with a thought that I hadn't really had, and I meant to look this morning, but then I didn't, and here's where we are. So at the end of the movie, when she reburies the golem, isn't it the kid?
Is it the kid?
Or is it him? No, it's him.
It's him. Yeah, I thought it was him.
Him, okay.
Because he starts to transform.
Right.
I think the thought is that's part of the price you pay.
He had the necklace, not the kid. Yeah.
Is that you will be the next Pumpkinhead.
So, the Pumpkinhead that they conjured was the guy he saw killed at the beginning.
Yes.
So, yeah,
unless there's a prequel we're missing.
Well, right. I think that is what we're missing, though. It's that 5 minutes
Pumpkinhead half
of who the first Pumpkinhead
Pumpkin
was.
Spice.
Why is the first was he killed in the pumpkin patch? Is that why?
Right.
Is he this Haggis's husband who she killed? I mean, what's the...
Could be.
Because she's obviously old enough, but...
Carving accident gone horribly wrong.
She's been around for a while. What happens when she dies? Who runs the pumpkin patch then? Hey, that's your retirement gig right there. You can go run the pumpkin patch.
Pumpkinhead 5, pumpkin pie. It's a mixture of Pumpkinhead and American Pie.
That's a spicy pie. If Shannon Elizabeth's in it, I'll still watch.
Okay, all right.
I'm just saying. Just how it is.
This one time at Pumpkin Camp.
Wow, we have derailed.
Yeah. So, because we didn't like the movie, so we're just trying to make up mashups, and I'm mashing this up with everything.
Yeah.
Mash it into a pumpkin pie.
Is this the least movie you've enjoyed the least this year for the podcast? Because it might be for me.
That's a good question.
I ask you because you've been to all the recording sessions, so you've seen all the movies.
Yeah.
Admittedly, when I know there's a session I'm not going to make, I don't necessarily finish the movie. So.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because I felt like this was a pretty solid year. We didn't have a lot of duds.
Right.
And the year's not over, but...
No.
November, December...
But I kind of feel like the ones we got...
Yeah, November and December are pretty solid.
We got some pretty good options here. So, I'm looking back at the list from this year, and I'm just thinking, is there anything else that really I feel like I was let down by that? Return of the Killer Tomatoes is just goofy.
Yeah, but isn't it goofy funny goofy? Enjoyable goofy?
Yeah.
At least to a point.
Yeah, I mean, to a point. Maybe Dead Ringers. Maybe Dead Ringers.
Okay. Yep. I can see that one.
Because that one maybe was just a little bit too weird.
Sure.
For me.
Sure.
That was one for anybody who hasn't listened to that one. That was Jeremy Irons playing the twins that were the twin gynecologists. That
doesn't it right there, though? It was
and...
Jeremy Irons, for crying out loud. Doesn't that
automatically
make it better?
I know.
But I see your point. Yeah, there's not. Yeah, it's not a great film either.
So that one probably was disappointing to me.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's any others. No, the rest of them I've liked.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good year.
And I'm thinking of the ones that we got coming up, just within the next few weeks or so. I like all of these movies. Now, the one that I have not seen all the way through, but it has enough of a premise, and I think it's going to be just goofy enough that I'm going to be totally fine with is They Live.
I've
never watched that movie all the way through, but I know enough about it. I've seen bits and pieces. I know enough about it that I'm like, no, that one's going to be higher than Pumpkinhead for me. This was one, coming into this episode, it was one that I was running purely off of the nostalgia of, I kept looking at that VHS in Blockbuster. And
so 12-year-old John's not as smart as 12-year-old John thought he was.
No. 12-year-old John's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
And
you can say that. I wasn't
and
gonna.
30-whatever-year-old John will freely go back in time and slap him around and tell him that. We'll tell him to avoid a few things later in life and invest heavily in plastics. I don't know the plastics. Transparent aluminum.
Or that fruit company.
Or the fruit company.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Are you fifth or sixth grade had a math project where we had to fake purchase stocks. Right? Okay. So my stocks at the time, I was like, I don't know. I'm 12 years old. I don't know anything about the stock market. And apparently I'm a Valley girl from California, too. But I'm like, I'm going to do Nike and I think Disney and Apple, because we've got Apple computer. We've got Apple IIes in the computer lab. Those are cool. Yeah. And so I actually did not do well in that project because at the time, we're talking like 90, 91 here. No, my stock, my Disney stock and my Apple, my Nike, I think did fine.
Yeah, it's probably true.
But my Disney and my Apple was like,
sure.
And I look back at that now and I'm like, you stupid person.
Yes.
If you knew what was going to happen, and if you could take that fake money that you could have bought, I don't even know what they were at the time. It was like $18 a share, or maybe not even that much, or something.
Now they're over $2.20.
Yeah.
Yeah, that fruit company's doing okay.
I don't think we have anything else.
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, a little disappointed.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I was hoping for a little more something.
It was
but maybe next week.
Would you say it was not as gored as we would have hoped?
God,
I did that.
I would not say that. You would, though.
No, and if Jeff's listening right now, Jeff, you're welcome for that too, because you love my puns. You do. Oh. You love them.
Gored.
It was not as gored as we would have hoped. So anyway, before everybody runs away screaming from my puns on this podcast, too late for the three of you that are still left. If you would like to hear more of our episodes, where I think I use fewer puns than I do this time around, probably. 30podcast.com is our website. We are very active on Twitter at 30podcast. It's the only place I am active. I don't run or exercise or do any of that. So I'm very active on Twitter, though. Voicemail line is 872-356-6843, 872-356-6843 if you'd like to call in. If you love Pumpkinhead and you want to tell us that we're totally wrong, we would love to hear from you. So please feel free to call in or send us a message on Twitter or whatever. Our next episode's coming up. Next time, we are taking a look at Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Check!
Or do you say Frankenstein?
Frankenstein. Well, no. Frankenstein? Is that what you're...
Sure.
Yeah. And Frau Bloofer. No.
Wow.
And Abby Normal.
Wow.
Yeah. We missed that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of great movies we missed.
I know.
Apparently, some people listening to our podcast have commented. Like, I think Pat was talking to either his dad or somebody one time, and they were like, "Oh, you got to do this movie and this movie," and he's like, "But no, Dad, that's from the '70s." I know. It's more than 30 years old. It's like, no, we do them that are exactly 30. Well, then you've missed a whole bunch of good ones. I'm like, no kidding.
Yeah, that's. We went back the first year because we had to, because, well, you have to.
84, 85.
Right, 84 was, a thing, but no.
So
I think it also works because we've kept it, for the most part, within the span of our lives.
Correct. Much like Quantum Leap.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So our next episode, again, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Great movie from 1948, reaching a milestone this year. If we can, we're going to do an episode on Venom. I'm very curious to see if that movie is good or not.
So much potential.
The non-Marvel MCU movies have been hit or miss a little bit. So very curious to see what happens with that one. Then coming up after that is They Live. And then finally we're rounding out our month of October with Return of the Living Dead 2 and Night of the Living Dead in the same episode. We're going to cover two very different looks at the zombie genre. And because Night of the Living Dead, the original, is also reaching a milestone as well. It was a 1968 movie. So, that being said, that's going to do it for this episode. Again, if you'd like to get in touch with us, go to 30podcast.com. That's got all the different ways you can reach us, as well as all the different episodes that we've had up to this point. Also, very, very quickly, I'm going to be sending out very soon a list of some potential movies from 1989, and we would love it if you would like to vote on those and tell us what you would like to see next year for the podcast, because we are already planning ahead for that, because 2019 will be coming up very, very, very quickly.
Yeah, much faster than I realized. I'll tell you that much.
Yep. Spicy fast. I had to do it one more time.
Obviously.
One more time. But no more after this.
Sure.
All right. Be excellent to each other and go watch some good movies. Thank you, Bo.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies and stay spicy. One more. Let's do one more. Had to do it one more time.
Shaking my head at you.